Father's Day was yesterday. So many women were claiming, hey, Father's Day myself. I want to say something very controversial. It is your kids that commit the majority of crimes and murders across the world, for the most part. Do you want to also take credit for that? Do you? Because that's who's out there robbing people everywhere. And any place in Africa you seeking crime, we can say there's a woman who made a choice to have a kid and blaming the man for why the kid isn't there when you chose him. The reality in the black world is this. Men are who they are trained to be. That's why Agabe is the man he is today, because of what training? We have to develop our young men in the black world to become somebody. But if you don't put them in a situation, what should they become? Should they figure it out? And we got to stop talking stupid like Dr. Umar is talking. It's futile thinking. It's what separates practicality from the real deal. I'm living in Africa right now. I can tell you. Dr. Umar, he may visit here. I'm here every day. The young men can produce anywhere in the black world, but without resources. And a woman or a man who puts a child with no resources, you cannot expect that child to become something. And that happened in the 70s, and the heroin epidemic, it happened in the 80s, it happened in the 90s.
I grew up in this dysfunctional home. So now I'm picking men based on these facts. Like I have a poor selection of men. Like I'm picking the wrong choices. I'm picking dusties because I saw dysfunction in my home. But I also had an opportunity to see a loving family over there.
There you go.
And I could have decided to say, you know what? However much I grew up in a dysfunctional home, there's an opportunity for me to do better. And there are better men out there. So let me pick a better man and not repeat the cycle. So you see that thing? I feel like as women, we need to be more accountable. We need to say, you know what? I need to do better. Let's break this cycle. Let me do better for my children. Because that's the one thing I don't understand. I see a woman she has like 5 baby daddies. You know, each child has a different man. And I'm just like, how are you letting this happen? Hi guys, welcome to Kenganda. My name is Janita Maya and this is the REPAT Podcast. Now I'm joined by these handsome men on my right. I'll let them introduce themselves.
It's your boy Master Gabs. Happy to be here once again. And looking forward to a great conversation with some good people.
What's up, world? Taye Uhuru, historian, author, musician, and world traveler.
Okay. Nice.
I'm just a Negro from Del Paso Heights. O'Shea D. Jackson, Sacramento, California.
Yeah. Now, before we get to what we're going to talk about today, I actually want to say Happy Father's Day to all the men out there. You are loved and appreciated. To all the present fathers. If you are an absent father, get some help. But yeah.
And also to the African American community, happy Juneteenth. You know what I mean? For our folks out there, this is something that was celebrated in 1865. We have been freed, I believe, 1862 or 63. So this is when we start celebrating it. It's year 158 of Juneteenth. Wow. 158. So shout out to all the people out there. We're going to release this video much later, but you know.
Yeah, but yeah. Yeah, guys, watch this clip with us and react to it with us.
And what I also tell black women, if you're going to go get you an African man from the continent, you're going to have to understand that the way in which you talk to black men in America will not be tolerated over there.
Why the fuck is it tolerated? It's not tolerated here. That's what we're trying to tell them.
Well, over here, I want to say this to us, though, because we try to act like the way sisters treat us doesn't have a history that we are not at least partly responsible for. Let's be honest. The black woman has had to hold down the black house by herself. Although imperfectly, she's had to do it by herself since the mass incarceration of black males began in the 1970s. So when a sister says, I don't need a man, because she couldn't find one strong enough to hold her down. Or when you meet a woman and you say, sister, I'm strong enough to be your man. You ain't got to work or you ain't got to pay the bills or whatever. Pull back. I got you. And she can't do it because all the other men before you who disappointed her. So what I'm saying is, black men, we got to be patient with our women because we created that personality.
We have to be held accountable for their poor selection.
No, you have to be held accountable because they have a poor selection.
Guys, what do you think about this one?
I'll let one of the brothers hear.
I mean, I really don't have much to say on this particular topic, because Okay, I will say this.
Okay.
Dr. Umar is correct in one particular case, is that there's not a whole lot of slick talking that an African man is going to condone from the woman that he shares a home with. There's a certain level of disrespect. I wouldn't say that it is condoned, but it has been normalized, right? And when I say it has been normalized, it's like everything that he was talking about in the video, absenteeism from, fathers, and women having a disproportionate share of the responsibility in raising kids and in single parent homes and things of that nature has lent itself. And by the way, it's due to several circumstances that are. I'm sure O'Shea has about 58 videos that you can catalog right now, just talking about that, right? And these brothers can dive deep on all of those, cultural reasons why the black man has been separated from his kids and all of that stuff. But I'll say this: you can't have a relationship built on a foundation of respect when you feel free to speak to your partner that way. And I'm just saying that a lot of African men wouldn't condone their partner speaking to them that way. Not all African men are perfect partners, right? So there's a certain dynamic of my way or the highway that comes along with these relationships that, often leads to the female partner in that dynamic feeling like she's not necessarily being given the fairest treatment. But he was right in every aspect. I never dated. When I say dated, I never had a serious relationship. I never had a serious relationship with an African American woman. When I was growing up, I had the impression that culturally speaking, we just don't connect. And what I saw my older brothers dealing with in their relationships with American women, with Black American women, that was something that I didn't want to deal with.
Okay.
There was an element of consistent conflict.
Okay.
There was an element of volatility.
Okay.
There was an element of flagrant disrespect that went both ways. And I was like, I don't want to be in a relationship where I'm subject to having to either lower myself to having to be spoken to that way or stoop to the level of speaking to my partner that way. So
Okay.
I want something different. And so when I started seeking out marriage, and when I was at that stage in my life, it happened that I was here in Uganda.
Oh, okay.
And so I was surrounded by women within this culture.
So let me ask you this. Would that even consider women from the African community in America too, that had maybe caught on to a certain level of what they would call, feminism and, because like you have Nigerian American, Ghanaian American, Ugandan American.
Yes.
Did you feel like those women in those communities also adapted those traits from maybe the system?
Yes, I would say that to a degree that does exist. Yes. I've seen many women from within our community who have those behavioral traits that come off as aggressive, come off as not submissive. And you can attribute it to, she has friends from
X, Y, and Z community.
Yes.
All right.
From X, Y, and Z community.
Yep.
You don't have to be specific about it. It could be from a different racial group. It could be from a different cultural group or whatever, but she has friends from that group over there.
Right.
So that's not the African culture in her talking. That's this other culture that she has been influenced by talking.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of that. There was a lot of that. And so, I've seen a lot of women who, like I said, like me, grew up in the U.S., struggled to find lasting relationships, have actually had to return to Africa so that they could find men who are like their fathers. They're also looking for that.
Yeah.
Yes, they're also looking for that as well. So, Dr. Umar is right, man. Dr. Umar is 100% right, I think, in this particular case. I do not disagree with a single word that he said.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with Dr. Umar. I think the thing is that Black Americans have a different understanding of family and culture. So we kind of have like a makeshift culture, like hip hop. Where in Africa, you have a system that's been in place for hundreds and thousands of years.
Yeah.
So in general, African women have a certain level of respect for African men and vice versa. So he's absolutely right. Most African men are not going for that. And African women, they're going to treat you with a higher level of respect in general than an African American woman would.
Okay. I love Dr. Umar a lot. In fact, if you were to come to Uganda, I was ready to pay you whatever you wanted to come to this podcast. I'm a biggest fan, but man, am I the biggest critic of Dr. Umar Afatunde Johnson. And let me tell you what I do agree with. Number one, because the African society, and I'm talking about what I understand, which is Uganda and possibly Kenya, it is little government. Now, it's big government as far as how people want to make money. I want to be in the government because I feel like it can pay me. But big government, meaning that the government also has a lot of restrictions on what you do every day or how you can interact with it in comparison to the United States. I mean big government in that way. So in the United States, it's big government in the way of social programs, welfare, food stamps, education, infrastructure spending. In Africa, the government is more or less on how you can interact with them and then things like that. And if you speak badly against X, Y, and Z person, then a few days later, here's your consequence.
Yeah.
Now, in America, you have these things in these avenues because as Black men, we do not hire the women in our community to work for our organizations. There is no, at least now, a lot of African-American owned banks. We don't have African-American mechanics or bakeries. The one institution that we still run, if we even run those, are barbershops and maybe churches. So in those times, and I'm talking about the times of my grandmother and even before her times, a lot of men in the community, because of the Jim Crow laws, we ran more of the economy because we were forced to. And whenever you can hire and fire people, they're going to adhere to how you want them to behave. If you want somebody to behave a certain way, you own the community. That's the only way they will do it, right? The problem in America is Black men want respect from a community that you just do not own. And when your woman is sleeping next to you and she goes and she works for a B of A or Fidelity or Exxon or Chevron, she doesn't look at you like as she needs you for financial gain. There's nothing that she gains from you. Yeah, you can pay some of her bills and things like that, but you're not somebody, you cannot control or dictate the engagement of how your people should interact with you, which is different from the Hispanic community. Now, I always hear Black men say, well, why are Mexican women, talking to Mexican men a certain way and we make more than them? That was the case 20 years ago, not the case anymore. Well, Mexican men, they own their stuff for the most part. They're more likely to own their stuff because they can't get into proper Wall Street or proper corporate America. So the women in their community, they need their men and they need to adhere to those rules. There are certain ways there are certain ways that their behavior must be engaged from them being in that community. Otherwise, you're going to be out. Indians are the same way. Okay? The problem is in Africa, African men that I think Black women would find, Black American women would find dateable. And let me kind of categorize that from what I believe it is. African men who have a certain level of affluence, land, money, such that they can live a life as if they were in America. Those are the kind of men that African women want. African American women want. That man is an employer. He is an owner. He is a person that wants to run and control all of his stuff. This is not a man if you make $100,000 in Tanzania or Uganda, it's not the same way that an African American made it working inside of a law firm as a junior partner. And I won't even say junior partner, because that determines ownership. That implies he's an owner. I don't want to say that. You're a highly paid skilled worker. You're a family doctor. You're an anesthesiologist. You're not an owner in that practice. So even though you're a highly skilled person, that $150,000 a year or $300,000 a year or $400,000, you didn't get it as an owner. As an owner, you built a system. You behave how people, you manage how they behave. Did you come in on time? Did you leave on time? What are you doing? Know the business will work that way. So you're a ruler in your community. African men who are rich are rulers in their communities. They dictate how you behave, how you act. And they can put consequences on you if you don't do that. Guys in Uganda are doing well. If you don't do X, Y, and Z, there's a price you got to pay. But if I'm a family doctor, I can't put a price on, if you act stupid with me, I can't put a consequence on how you behave. So therefore, you don't really need to respect me. But if you're African-American woman coming to Africa and dealing with a man like that, he's going to put a consequence on you immediately because he's going to clean his people up. That's how guys do it here. I own X, Y, and Z. This is what we do. Our community operates at X, Y, and Z lane. If you do X, Y, and Z, I am not a highly paid person. I run this community or own this part of the industry, or you will not come into my community acting like that. You will take your ass back. Where home? You can only do that with ownership. That part I agree with. Here's the part I disagree with. Umar Johnson makes a case that the reason why black women are behaving the way that they are behaving is because black men are, I don't know verbatim what he said, but he said something to the effect that the reason why she has that problem is because you gave her the ability to do it. Mm-hmm. Now, let me address that. Sure, men do run their communities, right? That's true. But now when the 70s came in, or before I go there, if a woman goes and kills somebody right now in America or in the 70s, can she go to the judge and say, the reason why I killed X, Y, and Z person is because the men in my community didn't show me the way I needed to do it. So therefore, take the man to prison. Well, what judge will agree to that? Mm-hmm. Anywhere in the country, in any state, any parish in Louisiana, would that be accountable? No, because the thing is this, if women misbehave, it is always their fault for why they misbehave. No woman wants to hear that the reason why I didn't become somebody in life because a woman did this. No. Women have to also be accountable for their own behavior or lack of perfection. Even though you can say a man run the community, but if you want to go out there and do whatever you want to do, you cannot say a man is the reason why you did it. You did it because you want to do it. And the reason why we know you have women prisons because of mistakes that what women made. If that was the case, whenever a woman makes a crime, her father would go to jail, which doesn't happen, right? Also, a lot of women put themselves in situations where they decided to deal with a man and they come up with this man. This man leaves them. The young boy comes with no direction. What do you expect? I'm here in Uganda right now. I can tell you this is not to be disrespectful. I deal with young men who they come from 2-parent homes and then their parents didn't provide what they should have provided. Now this young man didn't have what he needs to be a young man in life. Then you're going to tell me that if it was a single mom or whatever it was, that it's the man's fault to that certain degree? No. It can be, yes. But a man can only be what you have given them, just like a boxer. Everybody got to be trained. Mm-hmm. There is nobody that's perfect and good at what they do without what? Training, developing. No company is great without what? Training, developing. So you put this person in an environment where they're not trained and developed. What do you expect them to become? And in the black world, we blame the black man for everything when our women have also helped us in developing women and men that nobody needs. People hate them. We have created all over the black world. I'm going to say this today. Father's Day was yesterday. So many women were claiming, hey, fathers than myself. I want to say something very controversial. It is your kids that commit the majority of crimes and murders across the world, for the most part. Do you want to also take credit for that? Do you? Because that's who's out there robbing people everywhere. And any place in Africa you're seeking crime, we can say there's a woman who made a choice to have a kid and blaming the man for why the kid isn't there when you chose him. The reality in the black world is this. Men are who they are trained to be. That's why Agabe is the man he is today because of what training? We have to develop our young men in the black world to become somebody. But if you don't put them in a situation, what should they become? Should they figure it out? And we got to stop talking stupid like Dr. Umar is talking. It's futile thinking. It's what separates practicality from the real deal. I'm living in Africa right now. I can tell you. Dr. Umar, he may visit here. I'm here every day. The young men can produce anywhere in the black world, but without resources. And a woman or a man who puts a child with no resources, you cannot expect that child to become something. And that happened in the 70s. And the heroin epidemic, it happened in the 80s, it happened in the 90s. A lot of young black men were put in situations where adult women had kids and the kids didn't become something, and you blame this young black man for not being a leader. Or did you put him in a position where he could be a leader? You didn't do that. Mm-hmm. Now you're upset that he's terrorizing the block, and now he ain't no good for nobody else's daughter, or your son ain't no good for nobody else's daughter, or whoever else the case may be. Now you want to blame him. No. You were in the Motel 6 too. With little Pookie and Ray Ray. Y'all wasn't there fucking. Y'all wasn't there doing whatever the hell you wanted to do. Now, we got to have ownership, because the thing about it is this. If you blame African men or black men for everything in the black world, women are going to continue to run rampant, or vice versa. Same thing, I'm normally long-winded, with Boosie and the Free My N-Word campaign. If we don't blame criminality for where it is, the black world is going to continue to be destitute. We need to bring both sides to accountability. And we need to give people resources to become the men and women they need to be. When we're talking stupid like that, the black world will never get better. Because women will say, you black men didn't build for us. At the same time, y'all picking guys that can't read and write. Guys with tattoos on their neck and having their kids. And when your kids come out here and rob somebody on the street and they get shot by the police, it's Black Lives Matter. Mm-hmm. That's all.
You know what? I actually agree with you. I know, I'm also shocked. I do agree with you. I do not like the part where he says he blames black men for women's poor selection, because this is a scenario. So let's say I grew up in a dysfunctional home, right? Mm-hmm. Like I've seen my parents, or it's an assumption, guys. I've seen my parents in a dysfunction, like they're not the best representation of what marriage or family should be. Mm-hmm. But now I go visit my friend or my neighbor, and then I see what a loving father she has.
Hello.
And the loving mom she has and whatnot. Now, should I say, you know what? I grew up in this dysfunctional home. So now I'm picking men based on this fact. Like I have a poor selection of men. Like I'm picking the wrong choices. I'm picking dusties because I saw dysfunction in my home. But I also had an opportunity to see a loving family over there.
There you go.
And I could have decided to say, you know what? However much I grew up in a dysfunctional home, there's an opportunity for me to do better, and there are better men out there. So let me pick a better man and not repeat the cycle. So you see that thing? I feel like as women, we need to be more accountable. We need to say, you know what? I need to do better. Let's break this cycle. Let me do better for my children. Because that's the one thing I don't understand. I see a woman she has 5 baby daddies. You know, each child has a different man. And I'm just like, how are you letting this happen?
Can I say this?
What are these men telling you every single time?
Let me say this. Whenever a black woman overcomes adversity, we can publicize it. A lot of these NBA guys, all the way from Isaiah Thomas with the Detroit Pistons, he was from a single parent home in Chicago, all the way up to Kevin Durant and LeBron James, Allen Iverson. When they make it, their moms are right there to say, yes, my kid made it. Because mama did X, Y, and Z. Mm-hmm. But now when your kid is there laying in the casket in East Cleveland or in St. Louis, or when your kid is in 8 Mile in prison because he's in Memphis, we can look at any story today. Now all of a sudden, where was his daddy at? But no, wait a minute. But when it comes to black excellence and you overcome a story, we can talk about what this woman did, right? But now when your kid is out there tearing up Black America, which is what happens usually in these situations, more than the successes, we got to have an honest conversation. As men, yes, we got to figure things out. My dad was on crack for many years. But that doesn't still give me a reason why I got to go out here and act a fool, right? Because I had opportunities in my life. People looked out for me, right? So we got to take accountability for us how we should behave and engage with others on the black world, because we give ourselves reasons to fail. And that's why Africa in the black world is down, because we always making excuses for women or our men or our reason why we slavery. It's the white men. That has to stop. Now, I want to talk about this as a group of men or a group of women coming to Africa. Now, yes, Africa is underdeveloped to a certain degree, most certain countries. But these men are here, have a standard higher, I'm going to say, and one thing, they get it right more than us in America. You can never find an African-American man with 100 acres, but you can find it here. Mm-hmm. And these guys that when they have made it, they're somebody. You're not going to talk to any man that has made it like he ain't shit and think you're going to get away with it. I'm not talking about the way you made it in America. I'm talking about over here. You got rules of engagement. You can't go outside and act whatever you want to out there. People beat you.
Yeah.
Somebody yell thief and you're that lucky person to get caught.
Mob justice.
And the police will be there helping them. So you can't act any kind of way as a woman over here.
Yeah.
Or as a foreigner over here. There's rules of engagement because in America, you got a police. Over here, the people are the police.
Community.
So that's how we used to be, and we lost our way. Mm-hmm. But I do believe overall that women, when they come to Africa, if you're going to move over here, that attitude readjustment is going to be big. I'm going to tell you right now. Why? You are competing against so many young ladies who know the culture. If you want a successful man in Africa, they're young, they're beautiful, and you're coming from a different environment where a lot of that stuff you think works there, it don't work. American way of doing things don't work here. That's why American brands are not here as often, because they have to re-strategize and think their strategy to enter in the market. You're going to have to rethink how you do things to be over here and be successful. Yeah. That's all I got to say.
Yeah, just to finish my point, like I was saying, I feel like as women, we need to take accountability for everything. I feel like if you didn't see a proper father figure, the father figures out there that you could have looked up to, the same thing, the bad men and the good men. You don't have to concentrate on the bad men, concentrate on the good men. Look up to the good men. They are there. Trust me. If one man says, oh, I can't do this, there's a man out there who's willing to do better and do right by you. So you don't have to keep repeating the same cycle. And then I also think it's time for women to also like look within and see what issues they have. If you have daddy issues, you can't keep dating and blaming everything on your daddy issues. You know,
Can I ask you a question though?
Yeah.
Besides that, I'm going to cut you off, but I didn't mean to cut you off, but I'm asking you this, right? You made a great point. A lot of American women are going to be coming over here, and a lot of the guys who are doing very well in Uganda or in Africa in general are typically already married. So some of them may be finding themselves in a situation where they are earning more money than the man here. And we did this episode where our brother Mark Meets Africa was talking to Austin Holloman about a lot of women are being beaten from America and Tanzania. So how do you think, because a man in Africa, even though you make more money than him, in America, it's almost like if the woman makes more money, the guy already knows he's going to be the punk. Like look at Kiki Palmer and her boyfriend. You know, you see Erykah Badu and Jerron Atkinson. These guys know their role is to be a housewife. Yeah. But how does an African man think, even if you make more money than him? What does he feel?
First of all, I feel like for any woman out there dealing with an African man, never let the man know how much you're making. I think it's an American thing to let people know how much you're making. But in Africa, take that secret to the grave. No one should know how much you're making.
Really?
Like, more so as a woman, your man should look at you and think, oh my God, you're making pennies. Let me help you. That's how it should look. That's how we're taught that it should look to the man. I know Gabs is shaking, but that's how we're taught it should look to the man, you know?
That sounds legit.
Because like if you, in an African setting, we are speaking in an African setting, you know? Because if you let the man know that you make more money than him, then maybe he's going to give you more bills to pay. So why would you do that to yourself? You just keep quiet and let him lead the family and pay the bills. That's how I look at it. But I get what you're saying. But in an African setting, I think some men would be uncomfortable with that notion. So that's how you see that some men end up cheating and like cheating with like the house help, someone who's lower than him or making, you know, something less or something like that. But as a woman, you just don't tell men how much you make. Just keep quiet about that, because then if you let him know how much you make, he's going to make you pay the bills. So what do you want to do? Don't you want to keep your money? Okay, I'm going off track, Gabs.
I mean, I don't relate to this topic at all, to be perfectly honest with you, because African American women come in here to look for me as their husband, right? And like I told you before, I've never really established a relationship in a meaningful way with non-African women. So, I mean, it is what it is, I totally don't agree with anything that she's talking about.
Don't let them know how much you make.
But that's a debate for another conversation.
Do you know how much your wife makes?
I do.
Why?
Okay. Why not? Why not?
Did she tell you?
Here's the thing. You guys got me fucked up over here. Yes, you can be a caretaker. Yes, you can be a provider. But there's also a thing in a relationship called transparency.
Hello.
That matters, right? This whole thing of, keep your business in shrouded in secrecy. Like, who does that? So basically, you're keeping secrets from your husband, invites him to keep secrets from you.
Oh yeah,
It's on a need to know basis, right? So does your husband need to know what you make, John, if you're expecting this dude to be the breadwinner, the caretaker, and all of that stuff? In your particular case, you may not think he needs to know that, therefore you're withholding that information. Does my wife Joan, who I'm taking care of and making sure that she's good, fresh dipped, comfortable crib, she's living nice and lovely, does she need to know how many women I'm sleeping with on the side? No, she doesn't really, as long as I'm taking care of the household. It's need to know information.
Yeah,
so
I wouldn't say
establish a culture of transparency. So all of these people who are not married, speaking about things that married people need to do.
God.
Right? No.
Go ahead. Teach.
You opened up Pandora's box. You better catch all this smoke now. Right?
Right.
I cannot stand people who foster this notion that married couples need to keep information from each other. This is vital, critical information. What if something happens to you one day and your spouse needs to be in a position to take care of some things that they don't have enough information to take care of? What do? You know what I mean?
I'm not saying keep secrets from your partner. I'm all for transparency, but maybe
create the illusion.
Just don't know the exact figure. That's what I'm saying.
What's the harm in it is my question. What's the harm in a husband knowing how much his wife makes? As long as he and she have an understanding that he is going to maintain responsibility for what he is responsible for, why does him knowing what she makes matter? Because at the end of the day, there's an understanding. And if my wife and I, right? If my wife and I make the same amount of money, yet I have committed that I'm going to carry the lion's share of the financial responsibility to pay bills in our household, then that's what it is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But then I also have a full-on expectation that, hey, wife, since I know that you're making good money over there, I expect that you're going to be saving, investing, doing things that contribute to the long-term livelihood of our family.
Yeah.
Don't get it fucked up. It's not only the man's responsibility to contribute to the long-term livelihood of their relationship. If you have the capacity to do so, you need to declare that and establish it and do so. Don't be one of these chicks who says, I'm just going to keep my money off to the side for a rainy day in case my husband decides to leave me. I got a suitcase full of money and I got a runaway fund and I can go where I want to go when I want to go. That's not real life, yo. That is not real life.
But you know what, Gabs?
That's not real life.
I tell people I'm a student of life, and this right here was a teaching moment. So I'll take the L for lesson.
Just shady as hell.
I'll take the lesson.
Remember, even though you had a book on Amazon, we didn't know you had a whole Amazon bestseller. We didn't know nothing. So if you marry her, listen, if she coming with 1,000, you'll never gonna know about
O'Shea's not my husband, so why that
she ain't gonna tell you either.
Irrelevant.
She ain't gonna tell you.
I'm
not gonna tell you.
This right here is a lesson. So if I get married, God willing, inshallah, I'll have the conversation with my husband to be. So we'll talk about it. We'll talk about the finances.
Let's get the brother involved. We're over here holding the mic.
I mean, man, y'all said a lot. I think, like you said, accountability is a big thing in the Black community for the men and for the women. But living in America, it's almost like a third party is always involved. Like racism, which we know that story. But like you said, we got to be able to move forward together, because it's almost like a Black woman will get rewarded for doing it by herself.
Right.
Like, I don't need a man.
Yep.
That's applauded. So it's like after, maybe 2 generations ago, they had to do that. But now they saying Black fathers is more hands-on and more involved. in the lives of their children than any other group in America.
Right.
So we got to kind of get back to square one. And one thing I noticed when I was in Kenya last year, I was out there for like 3 months. I seen a lot of elderly men. In America, you see a lot of grandmothers and aunts, but you don't really see a lot of elderly old men. I mean, every day. I mean, unless you go to the mosque or maybe to the church or something like that. So I think that's one thing, you know.
What impact having those elderly men do you think have on society in comparison to our community?
It's definitely order. Like you need your father, you need your grandfather and your great grandfather to instill that culture and that lineage to be like, no, we don't do that. We don't do this. We don't do that. We don't have nobody. We got Big Mama telling us not to do it. And Big Mama getting old and slow. You could pull more things on her like you can with your mom. Once you get 13 or 14, your mom whooping you may not hurt you as much. You might could take it, but get the grown man on you. That's a grown 200-pound man giving it to you. So you up until the day you die, you're gonna respect them.
Right.
Okay. Well, that's well said.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a perfect way to end this episode so that Gabs can give me more lessons that I can get married and leave this podcast.
I'm here to teach all.
Please.
I'm here to teach all of y'all the game. I'm here to teach all of y'all the game. And some of y'all sucker dudes out there on the Pan-African dating show are making mistakes too.
Yes, Gabs.
I heard you came into the live stream one night. You was roasting some of the guys on
yo. Some of these dudes out here being foolish, man. I got a whole lot of game for y'all too, man. So Kuhani Hani, holla at your boy.
We should do that. We should all go one night as the King Ghana podcast and judge dates on the live stream.
Oh, that would be nice.
That'd be fun. But like, man, get his ass out of here.
Yeah, guys, tell the people where they can find you.
Follow me at Master Gabs everywhere. And also Allergic to Average Podcast at A2A_podcast on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. Follow the channel as well. Like and subscribe.
Okay.
Oh yeah, Tayehuhuru, TAYEUHURU, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube.
Okay.
At O'Shea Duke. I know this is going to be, we are recording this on Juneteenth. So for our African American community, especially for me and Brother Tay, we wish our people back there happy Juneteenth. We know it's a national holiday, so y'all don't have to work today. So hopefully you ain't too high or drunk or whatever. We know how y'all do.
Yeah.
So,
but yeah, guys, you can also follow us at King and the Nation on all social media platforms, and also email us at teamkenganda@gmail.com. There is a link to our WhatsApp group, so do tap that and join that. There's a whole community of you guys, and we love that for us and for you. Happy Father's Day once again to the present fathers out there. You are loved and you appreciate it. We'll see you guys next time.